quote: "Work hard in silence, let success makes the noise." Today's articles in the Hindu paper are: MOD approves 33 new fighter jets in deals with rupees 38,900 crore. Italian Marines case, India loses jurisdiction. Course contraction. Staying alert. Banning of Chinese apps is a digital strike. MOD approves 33 new fighter jets in deals with rupees 38,900 crore. Modi and Putin hold telephonic conversation. Amid the tension on the border with China, the Defence Acquisition Council, chaired by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Thursday, approved deals worth rupees 38,900 crore. These include procurement of 21 MiG-29 fighter jets for the Indian Air Force (IAF), upgrade of 59 MiG-29s and requirements of 12 Su-30 MKI aircraft. The approvals come a week after Singh's visit to Moscow for the Victory Day parade. Also on Thursday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called up Russian President Vladimir Putin to congratulate him on winning a vote on changes to constitution. The other deals include Pinaka ammunition, armored vehicle BMP armament upgrades and software, defined radio for the army, long-range land attack missile systems of over 1,000 km range, and Astra beyond visual range air-to-air missiles for the Navy and the IAF, worth an estimated rupees 31,130 crore. While the MiG-29 procurement and upgrade from Russia is estimated to cost rupees 7,418 crore, the Su-30 MKI will be procured from Hindustan Aeronautics Limited (HAL) at an estimated cost of rupees 10,730 crore, the Defence Ministry said in the statement. This would shore up the squadron strength of the IAF's fighter fleet, it added. The 21 MiG-29s has been partially manufactured by Russia for an unfulfilled order and would now be upgraded and delivered to India. These would add to the 3 of their squadrons in service that were undergoing an upgrade. The 12 Su-30 MKIs were meant to replace the aircraft that had crashed over the years. India has in different batches contracted to 272 Su-30 from Russia, a majority of which have been licensed manufactured by HAL. The IAF currently has 30 fighter squadrons against a sanctioned strength of 42. It will start adding the first batch of Rafale multi-role jets this month end. Another deal for 83 light combat aircraft Mk-1A, estimated to cost rupees 38,000 crore, is expected to be signed in the next 2 months. Both leaders discussed Mr. Putin's upcoming trip to India, expected in October, and the strategic partnership according to releases from the Ministry of External Affairs and the Kremlin. The announcement of the clearance for Russian hardware and conversation between the leaders came amid indications that New Delhi and Moscow are cooperating more closely on strategic ties as a result of the tension with China along the LAC. According to sources, Russia has assured India of all its requirements of defense supplies in the near future. Second article, Italian Marines case, India loses jurisdiction. The government of India said it was studying an international tribunal's ruling that the Italian Marines accused of killing 2 fishermen in the waters of Kerala coast on February 15, 2012 held immunity and would face a trial in Italy, not India. While the tribunal held in Italy's favor the main submission of jurisdiction, It found merit in India's counterclaim that the marines on board Enrica Lexie violated the freedom of navigation rights under United Nations Convention on the Law of Sea UNCLOS by shooting at fishing boat St. Anthony. They should pay compensation to the victims' families, the boat owner, and crew members. In their defense, the Marines claimed they mistook the fishermen for pirates and that the shooting occurred in international waters. In its submission, India had called on the Permanent Court of Arbitration (PCA) UNCLOS tribunal to adjudge and declared that it PCA has no jurisdiction with respect to the case submitted to it by Italy. However, a majority of the court's 5-member bench ruled 4-1 that the Marines, Emiliano Lator and Salvatore Giron, rejected the Indian plea, finding that they held immunity. According to the Italian government, the Marines were state officials exercising official functions. Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Anurag Srivastava said the tribunal observed that India and Italy had concurrent jurisdiction over the incident and a valid legal basis to institute criminal proceedings against the Marines. However, it found that the immunities enjoyed by the Marines as state officials operate as an exception to the jurisdiction of the Indian courts and hence preclude them to judge the Marines. India has taken note of the award and will be in touch with relevant entities on the matter. The Italian government, which was the plaintiff, said it would carry out the decision of the arbitration court in a spirit of cooperation with India. What happened was a cold-blooded murder and the Marines were given 7-star treatment in India, said senior advocate K.N. Balagopal, who appeared for Kerala in the case before the Supreme Court in the matter, with inputs from Krishnadas Rajgopal. Third article, Course Contraction. As output and demand slow, India must retain twin focus on the pandemic and economy. Output in the 8 core industries suffered an overall contraction for a third straight month in May, shrinking 23.4% as the pandemic-induced lockdown kept large parts of the economy shuttered. The Commerce Ministry's provisional figures show. Of the 8, all but one posted declines in production compared with a year earlier, with 6 sectors witnessing double-digit drops. Steel and cement were the worst hit, slumping 48.4% and 22.2% respectively, as construction activity and infrastructure projects remained mostly stalled. Refinery products with the largest weight in the index contributing 28% contracted 21.3% as the curbs on vehicular stymied demand for automobile fuels. And crude oil and natural gas continued their slide, adding to the problems dogging India's hydrocarbon exploration and production industry. Coal production also fell for a second straight month, declining 14% as the lack of demand for electricity from the nation's factories depressed power production as well as the need for the key thermal plant fuel. Output of electricity fell 15.6%, a slight improvement from April's 23% slump, aided by the partial easing of restrictions and peak summer consumption by households. The only silver lining came from the fertilizer industry as production rose 7.5%, reversing the slump seen in the preceding 2 months and signaling robust activity in the agricultural sector at the start of the Kharif season. The Finance Ministry had on June 23rd cited a near doubling in fertilizer sales in May as indicative of early green shoots of economic revival. A promising and early start to this year's monsoon bodes well for the crucial farm income dependent rural economy. The above average quantity and improved spatial distribution of rainfall in June have spurred a sharp jump in Kharif sowing, with the area sown as on June 26 more than doubling compared with a year earlier to 315.6 lakh hectares. With the pandemic and the lockdown having sent lakhs of people back to their rural homes from jobs in the cities, a strong uptick in economic activity across the hinterland is significant. Still, much will depend on the monsoon staying its course. Also, there is a danger to the farm sector, especially in western, central, and northern India this year from locust swarms. The Food and Agriculture Organization had in its June 27 update warned that India would need to remain on high alert through July for the possible arrival of swarms from northern Africa. The latest PMI data from researcher IHS Markit also paints a less than promising outlook for manufacturing, which contracted again in June, albeit at a softer pace. The June survey showed sharp reductions in output, new orders, and employment. Policymakers must not only contain COVID 19's tear away spread but also simultaneously keep economic momentum from sliding further. Fourth article, staying alert. The focus on COVID 19 should not come at the expense of monitoring other diseases. The Integrated Disease Surveillance Program IDSP, the backbone of India's disease monitoring network, is responsible for alerting the wider world on a weekly basis about the emergence of disease outbreaks, a surge in novel pathogens, the rate of spread, and remedial action taken. On average, there are 30 to 40 such alerts. However, the advent of COVID 19 appears to have weaned the country from any other disease. For one, the latest weekly report available on the IDSP website is from week 12, March 16 to 22. It records a mere 6 outbreaks, disease alerts across the country. In the same week last year, there were 17 alerts. In 2018, there were 28, and in 2017, there were 45. In week 11 this year, there were 28 alerts, 12 of which were for COVID 19, and these corresponded to the 110 cases of the disease that were reported in that week of March from when the disease escalated. One way to understand the situation is that once COVID 19 was declared a pandemic and a lockdown imposed, the IDSP too went into a new normal. With movement at a standstill, hospitals shut, and only testing and treatment for COVID 19 available at government healthcare facilities, the reporting of the other diseases suffered. The neglect of other diseases has been independently borne out, for instance, by a reduction in the notifications of fresh tuberculosis infections and a general decline in claims under the Ayushman Bharat Health Insurance Scheme. The other explanation is that, akin to a decline in deaths from accidents, the lockdown has contributed to a decline in transmission of contagious diseases. Many of the outbreaks that are routinely reported involve pathogens contracted from contaminated water or those airborne that spread through social interaction. While the reasons for the decline could be deliberated upon, what is unacceptable is the lack of public updates since March 12. The pandemic has taught the world that no modeling can quite forecast the spread of disease, and an affliction that may seem under control one week can quickly be threatening the next week. If the country has a policy decided to unlock and restore pre-pandemic routines, then this should also apply to routine surveillance for other diseases. The IDSP also faces a manpower crunch and, mirroring the experience of public health facilities in other countries, is trying to recruit in the middle of a pandemic. It's debatable how useful this would be to improve COVID 19 surveillance, but it is essential in improving overall surveillance as well as providing timely updates to the public and international health agencies. The pandemic needs serious focus, but India cannot afford to ignore other killers. Fifth article, banning of Chinese apps is a digital strike. India wants peace but is capable of giving a befitting reply, says Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad. Union Minister for Communication and Information Technology Ravi Shankar Prasad on Thursday termed the banning of 59 Chinese apps by the government earlier this week a digital strike. He said India wanted peace but was capable of giving a befitting reply to anyone casting an evil eye on it. He was addressing a virtually rally attended by members and leaders of the West Bengal BJP unit in the ongoing Jan Samvad series of virtual rallies by the party. Hailing the strong leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Mr. Prasad asserted that if India lost 20 soldiers in the Galwan Valley border clash, the toll is double on the Chinese side. And that was probably the reason the Chinese government had not made any public declaration of casualty figures. When people from China tried to create pressure on LAC, line of actual control, our soldiers gave them a befitting reply. If our 20 Jawans have sacrificed their lives, the toll is double on the Chinese side. You all must have noticed that they have not come out with any figure, Mr. Prasad said. He added that nowadays we only hear of two CS, coronavirus and China. Will to deliver. When our Prime Minister is saying that the sacrifice of our Jawans won't go in vain, it has a meaning in terms of national security. Our government has the will to deliver. All of us are aware of the courage of our Prime Minister, he added. It's not the India of 1962, he said, insisting that India carried out a digital strike to protect the data of countrymen. Mr. Prasad sought to know why the ruling Trinamool Congress was opposing the ban on Chinese apps. For us, the privacy and protection of data of our countrymen are supreme. As IT Minister, we decided to ban 59 apps to protect data. We won't compromise on the issue of data security and nation integration. India knows how to protect its borders and also knows how to carry out a digital strike, he asserted. We are witnessing a strange trend in Bengal. The ruling TMC had earlier asked why we are not banning the apps. Now they want to know why we are banning the apps. This is strange. Why can't they stand with the government at the time of crisis, he said. Trinamool Congress MP Nusrat Jahan had on Wednesday criticized the banning of TikTok as an eyewash and a superficial decision. Slams CPI-M. Mr. Prasad also attacked the CPI over its silence on the Sino-India border confrontation. I am surprised why the CPI has not criticized China. We saw an article in CPI Mouthpiece where it said India had angered China by removing Article 370 from Kashmir. Is it the same CPI that it was in 1962? Is it still speaking the same language of 1962 in 2020? He said, indicating that the Citizenship Amendment Act would be a major electoral plank in the West Bengal Assembly polls due next year. Mr. Prasad wondered why the anti-CAA protesters had gone silent on the issue of China. This law was brought in to help the refugees. What is the harm in it? In Bengal, we used to witness a lot of protests in some universities. Our union ministers and the state governor were not allowed to enter. I wonder where are those anti-CAA protesters? Why have they gone silent on China issue? He said. Mr. Prasad also attacked the Mamata Banerjee government over what he termed its reluctance to facilitate the return of its people during the COVID-19 lockdown. Uttar Pradesh brought back its 25 lakh migrant workers. Bihar brought back 20 lakh workers. I want to ask how many Shramik special trains were allowed in Bengal. Mamata, had said that these special migrant trains were bringing more COVID-19 positive people into the state. Such statements are unacceptable, he said. When our Prime Minister is saying that the sacrifice of our Jawans won't go in vain, it has a meaning in terms of national security. Our government has a will to deliver. All of us are aware of the courage of our Prime Minister. It's not the India of 1962. Union Minister for Communication and Information Technology, Ravi Shankar Prasad. Thank you for watching, everyone.